Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the first book in a new YA fantasy series, and it follows 3 perspectives, and it takes place in a new fantasy world that is based on African culture and folklore. First we have Zelly, and she is our main protagonist, and she is from a clan of people that are called diviners, so she was born with the ability to eventually become a magi, which is their magic user, but years ago magic was eliminated and all of the magi were wiped out. So she has very distinctive looks with white hair and bright piercing blue eyes, and so everybody can identify her. So her people are oppressed in this society. Even though they can't have magic anymore, they are looked down on and mistreated by everybody else. Then we have Amari, and she is a princess and the daughter of the king who wiped out the magi. We also follow her brother Enon, who is the prince and the son of the king that wiped out the magi, and he is following more in his father's footsteps. Circumstances cause all these characters to eventually cross paths, and everything kind of takes off from there. First off, when we talk about the world building, I really enjoyed the world building in here. Everyone's been talking about how unique and different this is, and that's totally true. When you first open the first couple of pages in here, you have a list of all the different magi clans and all the different magic users, which instantly reminded me of the Grishaverse and the Grisha trilogy and all of those kinds of magic users, but this is even bigger, and it just had me so excited. And then when you get into it, like I said, it's very heavily inspired by African culture and mythology, and you know how I feel about mythology, so that was really fun. You kind of have their religion mixed in with the magic because the magi are sort of blessed or connected to the gods, and so that is how their magic is bestowed upon them, and so that's this element that is woven in throughout, and I really enjoyed that. I do think we got only a taste of the mythology and the culture in this though, and this is obviously just the foundation. We're going to see a ton more from here. This is also an incredibly visual story, so I didn't have a hard time at all picturing things, picturing scenery, picturing animals, for example, because there's like these giant tigers and lions and stuff with like horns, and that's something that they like ride around almost like horses, and so all of that stuff is really cool. That way the magic is portrayed is cool, and you can kind of picture everything. Next, let me talk about our characters. Like I said, we have 3 different POVs, and each one has a very distinctive voice, which I appreciate, because a lot of times with multiple POV stories, the author will struggle with kind of having at least some of the characters sound very similar and just sound kind of the same, and you have a hard time kind of piecing out, okay, like who are we following right now? So with this, they were very distinct, and I really appreciated that. I would say that Amari quickly became my favorite. Zelly I enjoy as well because she's really impulsive, and I really like impulsive protagonists. If you don't like impulsive protagonists, beware, because it's kind of a cornerstone of Zelly's personality, and everyone kind of scolds her for it because she tends to get people in trouble that way. But Amari is my favorite because she has that kind of like almost borderline Sansa Stark feel, where it's like she is like learning the game, but she's also very strong, and she's like learning more about what's going on in the greater world that she didn't really know about before. So I really like those types of characters as well. One thing I was a little disappointed by was how quickly the relationships formed, and that is both friendships and romantic relationships. This book only takes place over about a month's time, like 3 to 4 weeks, and so all of these relationships, whether they're friendships or romantic, are very strong and solidified very quickly, and I found that to be very unrealistic, especially because a lot of these people that are kind of banding together are unlikely to be banding together, and they are on opposite sides and they have opposite upbringings, and it just doesn't really make sense how quickly those bonds are formed. Even if you are in like life or death situations, I was expecting a lot more tension with the friendships and the relationships. The friendship one I'm a little more forgiving of because I just tend to be. There is an element of insta-love in this that I was so disappointed by. Before and leading up to when this book came out, I was seeing interviews with Tomi Adeyemi, I was hearing about it. She was talking about her love of Avatar: The Last Airbender and her love of Zutara, which is Zuko and Katara from Avatar, which is something that I haven't actually watched, but I know enough about it because it's a fandom juggernaut to know that that is a kind of trope, and their dynamic is something I really like, so I was looking forward to seeing that, and I felt like this rushed into that dynamic, and it was very, like I said, insta-love. Like the words love are used with some of these characters, and it just really rubbed me the wrong way. I wanted more of a slow burn. I wanted this to be stretched out. These are characters that are on opposite sides of this kind of like battle and have opposite like moral codes and stuff and beliefs, and the fact that a lot of these characters just form bonds very quickly over like days, not even necessarily weeks in some cases, just wasn't believable for me. I do wonder, because Tomi kind of said that she started with fan fiction with writing, if there was some kind of influence with that, because if you're writing characters that are based on canon, people already have this backstory, they're more okay with these fast developing relationships, where in this, these are original characters, they need more time to slow burn and simmer, and I sort of wonder if that had any influence on it at all. Maybe, maybe not, but that's just a theory. There was also some kind of inconsistencies in motivation of characters and sort of flip-flopping on kind of ideas about even how like the world works and kind of their moral stances on things and stuff, and that happened very quickly. Again, this book takes place over a very small chunk of time, so for these characters to kind of flip so quickly and it kind of flipped back and forth multiple times, that was a little disappointing as well, because I felt like it needed more time. And it's a large book. I feel like it could have been a little more drawn out and maybe could have happened later on in these story arcs, maybe in later books in the series, and not be so flip-floppy in this first one. Next, let me talk about the plot. This is incredibly fast-paced, like I said. Again, this book takes place over a short period of time, and that's where some of the inconsistencies lie, but also it keeps you going. You just want to keep turning the pages. You keep wanting to see what's going to happen. It's so fast-paced. There's constantly things going on, and there's not really a lull, which I really enjoyed. It also has this kind of like hero's quest plot line, and that's always something I enjoy as well. I also really enjoyed Tomi's writing style. I think it was just fun. It was fast-paced. It was visual enough without being too flowery. It was just my kind of ideal writing style. Again, it reminds me kind of Leigh Bardugo. You have those really like beautiful lines, but you're not getting bogged down in flowery purple prose. I appreciate that. And lastly, I'm really looking forward to the implications of the ending with this story, so I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the series. I think this was a strong start to a series. Not the strongest as it could have been. There were a couple things that I mentioned that were a little inconsistent, were a little disappointing, but overall I really enjoyed this. I'm really looking forward to the future of the series. This has also, I think, already been optioned for a movie, and I was picturing it as a movie basically the entire time that I was reading it. So I'm really looking forward to like the future of this world in general, and I gave Children of Blood and Bone 4 out of 5 stars. I will also be doing a spoilery gush on this book, so if you've already read this book, go ahead and check out that. It will be linked on the screen. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of Children of Blood and Bone. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!